Hi, Alan.
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Let's see here. Let me get my video going here for you guys. Hey, you look nice today. You look like you're wearing a collar, man.
Who
Thank
looks
you.
nicest?
It's not me.
I see holes in your shirt already, Joey. So.
The best part is that is Joey's uniform. What you were watching right there is the closest to a company uniform.
You got to get your logo on
I'm wearing
it,
your shirt at all.
Yeah.
I have a full gown from the waist down.
man.
Crystal, all the things. Okay, so I'm going to be here for like 30 to 40. It's so hot in this apartment that I might die, so I might have to leave 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
No worries, man.
It was cold in New York.
It's very hot. It's very humid.
Oh, no.
Are you in New York? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
What part of New York?
Manhattan. I'm at Battery Park.
Nice. What are you doing up there?
Just visiting people, birthdays, wedding.
Cool. I used to live in East Village, so that's why I was asking.
Oh, I'm in the West Village. That's where I'm staying.
Yeah, it's
Where in the East Village?
I used to live between First Ave and Avenue A on 6th Street in East Village.
6th Street or 6th Avenue? Oh, 6th Street. Now, let me
6th
tell you
Street,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Are there children around?
No.
Okay, cool. So on 6th Street and First Avenue, there is now a gay sex club that I ventured into for 20 seconds. And I said, this is disgusting. I am ashamed. I am just disgusted.
Wait, 6th Street and First Avenue?
6th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Oh, 2nd Avenue. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I was
okay.
There's like literally warning signs like, you will be pickpocketed. I'm like, this is not what I expected. So I told Jorge,
Every time you try to go to a sex club, you always are disappointed and leave.
Always. I mean, granted, it's only been twice, Alan. Twice. It's been twice.
That's awesome.
I'm so lucky. I love it there. It's so nice.
That's awesome. It's a cool spot. I burned out though. I could only do it for a few years, and then I had to go somewhere that had more green and fresh air. But I love it. It's awesome. I go back every chance I can get. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about what we're talking about. Today is, so Jorge, why don't we start talking about that email flow series, and we can go ahead and just cross off a list, and that way you can start executing on it.
Cool.
And then I want to talk a little about some of the abandoned carts, which you guys set up now. And then Dorian, I want to talk to you about product pages. So I know you're sort of in the mix of sending everything over the Shogun. So I want to make sure we're addressing that before you get too deep into that exercise. So those are the three things I want to go over today.
I'd like Joey to be here for the product pages part too, because he often posts products as well.
Done. So maybe we do that first then. And then we'll circle back around on the other stuff. And then
he probably also should be here for the email flow thing.
Well, I think that just depends on how long he wants to stick around.
Joey, that means you can't leave early for the sex club is what we're getting at.
You're muted, Joey. We can't hear you.
What I said was very funny. I'm not going to repeat it, but it was
hilarious. All right. Well, if he needs to be around for the emails, then let's do email first. Then we'll do product page second. And then we'll do the abandoned cart stuff third. And then at some point, I want to loop back around, Dorian, and talk about Spently and Klaviyo and MailChimp. And let's see if we can't get all those decisions finalized today too, because Jorge's going to want to set this stuff up. So we'll have to pick what email client we're going to use.
Cool.
Okay, so actually let's do this. Let's just go straight into the email flows. I'll share my screen to start. And then that way we can just look at them while we're talking about them. So Jorge, overall, I thought they looked good up until email 4, which actually I thought it looked fine too, but I think we can tweak. But everything from email 1, email 2, email 3, I thought were fine. I think they're good. I think they're good enough to the point where let's launch them. And let's get some market feedback, and let's go in and tweak. We don't want to tweak the subject lines to get open rates up. But let's launch them first, and let's start collecting data. You guys get enough traffic in with pop-ups that we'll be able to drive people through this quick enough that we're going to get some data, but they're good enough to take to market. So I want to take I think the first three are fine. Fourth one, I think, is a good premise. I think we kind of outlined this last week. What I would do is I'd probably be more specific. And I would say, as opposed to, and I was talking to some writers I met last week and they all shared the same frustrations, I would get really nitty gritty. I'd go, I was talking to our writer yesterday, or I was talking to, 2 writers last week. And they said, no, and not to share some frustrations, I'd maybe name something very specific, right? Like they were all complaining about blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So the more you can hook them with that first sentence, the more they're going to continue to read. So the more vague you are, the less they'll continue. The more specific you are, the more they're going to be hooked.
I would keep shared the same frustrations and then just put what those frustrations were. I wouldn't use the word complaining.
Totally fine.
And Joey, what this is pre-purchase acquisition. So somebody who signs up for the mailing list or something but has not bought something. This doesn't, so they're not dumped into the regular email list. They're dumped into this list and they get an email every day for like 6 days with these various things in it. And then they get dropped into the regular.
Oh, I love it. That's interesting.
I'm on all kinds of tiny house flows like this.
Yeah, once they get dialed in, these things work really well. All right, solution's easy. 5 ways our open pitch session solves this. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think it's good. Otherwise, I think it looks good. I just wanted that first sentence. That's what hooks them and gets them to read. So the more specific we can be there, the better.
And then Dorian, I was going through some of your notes there, but you and I can, I guess, we could chat more about that offline.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love the things that are highlighted. Is definitely parts I was like, so that's cool.
I know some of the things I was like, I don't think we can legally say that, or this is technically not true.
Yeah, because I'm coming at it from like the standpoint where I could say whatever I want and sell it, but then you guys, since you are educational based, it's like they're like red flags that you can't say. So I'm like still learning those things.
I like your name, Hip Hip Jorge.
Yay.
So what's the legal concern with some of this? Just so I know too.
You can't say that the execs are looking for certain material. You have to say that they specialize in that material because it's a Talent Scam Protection Act. We can't say that we get them work because we don't.
Got it.
And so it's like we can't say that the execs are looking for XYZ. We can only say that they specialize in XYZ. And
like,
that's
like the umbrella is that like writers can't pay to get, like Dorian said, get employment or get a job opportunity. Like they can't pay to get that.
Yeah, pay to play.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, we went over all this legal mumbo jumbo with the lawyer when we first launched the business, and so because the Krikorian Act was cracking down on casting workshops, so we looked at the guidelines they gave for casting workshops, and we tried to translate it to what it would be for what we do. But we don't have any actual guidelines from the government, so we're just trying to comply without having any actual guidelines.
Got it. Okay. All right, that's good to know. Well, I'll let you guys tell me if we're crossing lines, but otherwise, I think these look good. Let's see here. Email 5, subject writer signed with Gersh. Hear her explain.
But I think also the bigger question here, Dorian mentioned is so. Last week we mentioned Emma Steele as a person through open pitch. So, Alan, is there a way that we can? I mean, in that scenario, do we just need to find a different success story?
So, say that one more time. She didn't go through open pitch.
Yeah.
Well, she'd pitched an open pitch before, but that's not why she got signed. She got signed from Top Tier, which is our top level career writer program.
I mean,
Was it by pitching in Top Tier though?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tend to push the line on all this and be fairly aggressive. So you guys can push back and kind of rein it in as much as you want. I don't think so. my point here is ultimately, yeah, they're buying open pitch, but really what they're doing is they're buying you guys, right? And so they just want to see success from you guys, and the people that are running open pitch, the same people that are running all the other programs that you do, and that's what makes them successful. So this is less about, hey, this person did open pitch and that's why they got this job. It's more like, hey, here's a success story of somebody we've worked with. By the way, if this is your pain point, we recommend the first step you take into getting getting your problem solved like this person would be going into open pitch. That's sort of how I think that's a perfect way to start out.
Yeah, because Jorge, I know you were asking, do we have somebody who actually got repped by open pitch? Yeah, one person from the first weekend of open pitch sessions, Mark Finley, signed them. I don't even remember who it was.
Yeah.
Because open pitch doesn't work, and that's just what we keep telling people. Open pitch doesn't work. You should be in a program. But so many people, the only value they see is in open pitch. So that's how we kind of get them in, and then we try to get them into the career writer program.
Okay.
Right, and it's like, the way I think of this is that it's sort of your, if you guys feel like you guys have like a, you can call it moral obligation if you want, but just like an obligation for your students to be successful, right? And you know that the program is where they need to be successful, but you also know that they're not going to sign up for a program unless they do something like open pitch first. It's your obligation to get them to sign up for open pitch because you know that's going to get them to the program, right? Yeah. And you're doing it all with their best intentions in mind. So it's not like you're trying to scam them saying, hey, here's a testimonial of somebody who's in the program, go by open pitch, you'll get the same result. It's saying, here's somebody who's worked with us, they've been successful, here's how. And if you guys want to get a taste of what it's like to work with us, the first step we recommend taking is doing it open pitch.
And also because her video is professionally produced, it's the best video that we have.
Doesn't hurt.
I was also going to ask, is it something like, Alan, where copy-wise, is it okay to say, like, going with what you were saying, like, we suggest starting here, but also saying that the reason open pitch, it's like the best way to identify like your strengths and weaknesses, something like that? Or is that like not sort of selling things with rose-colored glasses? Or is that, because I think that might be valuable to a writer. I'm not sure.
So the way that I recommend addressing it is in email 4, you're kind of pitching all the benefits. Email 5, the idea here is to show social proof. I wouldn't overdo this one, and I would let the testimonial speak for itself. And then I would frankly just end it with, just a very casual sort of next step suggestion, right? So like, there's no secret open pitch systems helped countless writers like Emma advance their writing career to the next level. I would almost be more direct and say, if you feel frustrated with where you are in your process and you need to take that next step, we recommend open pitch, right? I would probably try to press the pain point a bit versus talking in sort of higher absolutes. Think about where that person is right now at this stage and why they think open pitch is the right solution for them, and kind of press that pain and then recommend open pitch, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta hit this dog. Buster.
Say faster.
Who's Buster?
Oh, Buster. I think faster. I was like,
I thought he said faster too. I was like, let him write.
I was like, my brain is not working that way.
Slave driver.
Faster. Buster.
That's why Joey's on the call. He's like, pick it up. Okay, email 6. actually, hold on. Let's go back to the subject line here. Writer signed with Gersh. So Gersh, I'm assuming, is a well-known
Major
brand, right? Okay, all right. I'd probably say something like, this writer signed with Gersh, dash, here's how.
Nope, wrong here.
I want to hear it with my ears, though, Dorian.
Sorry, I was trying to correct it for you there.
Thanks.
Or hey, I'll get out of your way.
That's all right.
Okay. Or something like that. A little more punchy. And again, we're going to see how everybody reacts to these and we'll adjust them, but that's what I would say. Okay. Email 6. I'd probably say in this subject, I'd probably just add on open pitch, just so it's really specific.
Sorry, on which? Oh, on the top?
Yeah, I just added on open pitch at the end of that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you like that one better as opposed to this guy here?
Buster.
Mm.
Hold on a sec.
I'm like, are you dog sitting at that apartment too or something?
You know what? To be honest with you, I think you go either way. I think we could test them. I'd say start with this top one and just say, 2 days left to save 50% on open pitch. Or you could do something like save 50% on open pitch ends tomorrow or something like that. But yeah, I would just test those. I think they're close enough.
Okay.
There's no science on that one. We'll just see how the market reacts.
Let's see. Yeah, and I mean, for the rest of the content here, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's fine. All I would do is probably reiterate somewhere in here the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put them up front. I'd probably put them at the end. So I just want to remind you your 50% off discount code and pitch. Keep all this, and then maybe below this section here, maybe just list, reiterate some of a couple of the points that you made in the emails 4 and 5. Just in case, for example, somebody didn't open those, we can name what the benefits open pitch are.
Continue the numbers. What the fuck?
No. Alan, can I ask you a question before he's doing that?
Yeah.
What are just, and maybe you've talked about this before, maybe you're going to talk about it later, for subject line for emails, like what are just some of your general pointers?
Yeah. Intrigue is the number one answer I always give. So there's lots of different formulas for subject lines. The one that we always see work the absolute best is just insinuating some form of intrigue in it. So for example, like we're talking about in the very beginning of this series, and I forget what we chose for you guys, but an example would be if you sign up to win like an open pitch session, right? The subject line could be something like, you're entered to win, and then just say, but read this first. So as opposed to sending somebody an email with a subject line that says, you've been entered to win an open pitch, nobody's going to open that email. But if they see a subject line that says, you've been entered to win, but read this first, then they'll open it. So it's just sort of working in some intrigue angles. Okay. So that's the first way. And the second way is just something that's just like crazy extreme value. So you see a lot of watered down value emails, but like, for example, this Gersh email, right? This one has a combination of extreme value with the name Gersh, right? You can notice it, but this here's how is the intrigue piece. So this writer signed with Gersh, but here's how is now they're like, well, shit, okay, I want to know. So it's just adding in a little bit of element of intrigue there too.
Okay, got
so
it.
Those are sort of the two formulas that we see work really well. You can get really complex with this stuff, but those are how I recommend keeping it simple to start.
Okay, cool. The next email is going to be, here's how.
Here's how. But Dorian says you do a bunch of this already, and you guys already do a pretty good job with emails. So it sounds like you're already decent at writing subject lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways you can say sign up for this product that's the same. So sometimes it feels. I like that. Here's how. Yeah, stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, and if you guys want to send me some of your stuff too, I'm also happy to take a look at any of the promotions you guys have done in the past. If you guys want me to tweak or give comments on subject lines or copy on that too while we're in this process, just let me know.
Are you on our mailing list?
I don't think I actually am. I don't think I am.
Maybe if you subscribe to our mailing list and then maybe just see the next few that we send out.
Yeah.
Until our next call, and then you can.
Yeah, like maybe subscribe just for a week because you're gonna get 15.
You're gonna inundate my inbox, aren't you?
Oh, you have no idea.
No, I'll sign up. I'll sign up for this next week.
Yeah, maybe try to sign up for today, so that by next time we talk, you can see the emails we send out.
Yeah, I'll take a look. Sounds like a plan. Jorge, so how are you feeling? Are you good with this direction for this?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
I think so. No, I think the input and the feedback is good, and I think what will be really telling is once we actually put this once we kick it live, sort of see once we have some actual data sets to look at. I think that'll be really helpful, and we can tweak accordingly.
Exactly, and that's why I don't like to spend just like all of our time on this, because that's exactly right. Once you launch them, we're going to get data on this, and we'll tweak them accordingly. And honestly, the subject lines are going to be the most important piece of all this, because once somebody opens it, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear cut what you're pitching, and the content here is good enough, so that's going to perform. It's going to be all about open rates. So that's what we're going to care about and really, really want to look at.
Yeah.
And now that but it's also good to run through the exercise like this, because we're going to do more of these after the fact, like after somebody buys, putting somebody through a segmented campaign afterwards. And it's going to follow very similar methodologies. And so doing this now all together is going to make it way easier and faster when we implement the other ones later.
Perfect. I was going to actually, what was I going to ask you? Oh, and then also for the design of these emails, I mean, these should be kind of like, these should all look pretty like stripped down, sort of like what we have right here, right? These are like kind of like your text. We're not going to make these very imagey heavy, or,
how are you guys doing your emails right now? What do they look like right now?
It's usually like an image in the top, and then the text, and then a button at the bottom.
The thing is, those are primarily like the wide marketing sort of things. Mm-hmm. Joey does a lot of, you're not even giving him some credit, Joey. He does a lot of just like plain text emails to people that are like, hey, I just want to let you know this is something I think you should sign up for, et cetera, et cetera. And those, he gets really good open rates and high click-throughs and people making purchases. So I think something like this, my sort of initial gut, and maybe this is something that we experiment with too, is, of course, keeping our logo in there, but I think the plain text might be a good way to kind of go with this, with like a nice template that we have, but that's still just a template.
So my recommendation is always, regardless of what you're sending out, reducing the amount of imagery and over design for a couple of reasons. A, it just makes it much more likely you're gonna hit a spam folder, because that stuff gets pulled out in spam equations. And then also for mobile readability, the more imagery you have in there, sometimes the harder it is for it to render on mobile, and it all gets squished into a single column. So it just doesn't perform well. And the majority of your readers can be pulling this thing up on mobile. So for those two practical reasons alone, I always recommend going for more text versus over-designed templates. Now, it doesn't mean you can't work in elements and imagery in your logo and some light styling as needed to keep the branding in place, which I think is important. But especially for these, because you guys have written these specifically to come from specific team members, especially the first few, I would keep those very light on design and keep them looking more like personal emails. It doesn't have to look like it came from your Gmail, account or anything like that. But yeah, looking like a letter, like make it look like something that you wrote to somebody.
A welcome email probably sucks then.
What's your welcome email?
It's like, here, let me see if I could send you one just really quickly. I don't know if I'm like getting off topic, but.
No, it's fine because this is good. We'll want you guys set up correctly with emails.
Like this is basically like if somebody signs up for a pitch, and then we have no idea who they are. Mostly the important part about it is like the legal jargon, but then you'll see kind of like.
Are you forwarding it to me? If I just go into my Gmail.
Yeah, the Blue Stout, whatever that is.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here, I'll send it to you now. And I'm actually just going to subscribe you to our mailing list myself.
Go for it.
So I'll make sure that you're there. Okay.
You guys can look at my inbox while we're doing this.
I love Heroku. Heroku.
Who?
Yeah, man.
Heroku.
Do you guys use Heroku?
We don't, but I used it at the last gig, and it's it was great.
It's awesome. Yeah, we use it for all of our client stuff, which means I get notified whenever something goes wrong with one of our clients' Herokus.
Yeah.
My perfect grilled cheese.
Ooh.
Alan, we are the most distractible group in the entire world.
You guys are also the most entertaining group, though. So.
Who do you like the best? I feel like you have to like one of us better than the others. So we'll get to it. But, okay, so this is what the welcome email looks like.
So this gets sent when somebody signs up for any product or for something specific?
Basically like any product. I have to do it manually. Like I have to say, okay, if I see the email I don't recognize, I'll put it into MailChimp and I'll send them this email. Usually like I send it out to like one person at a time. But this is what it looks like.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this because we're actually going to go over this and talk about after somebody buys from you, what do you send them and customizing that. I think it's fine. Ultimately, you're not trying to upsell them here yet, and so it's really this is more about just onboarding and indoctrinating somebody to that and making them feel comfortable because they bought something from you. So to me, that feels like it should come from a more personal angle, probably from Joey or whoever you guys want the face of the brand to be, and so that feels like a personal welcome. So I'd probably change it that way. But other than that, I don't think it's overly styled. I mean, I think this is fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Buster.
All right. So let's talk about. All right. So let's do this. Let's actually talk about the mail client here real quick, just because we're talking about email, and then we'll talk about product pages. So Dorian, it sounds like you were able to get what you needed set up with Spently, right? Like you actually figured out you could just send the transactional emails with Spently and it would work.
Yeah, regardless of whether or not they opt into the mailing list or have unsubscribed in the past, like it works seamlessly. Like all the problems that we had with trying to do it through MailChimp, Spently does not have those problems.
Okay. Yeah, and because we looked into Klaviyo a little bit more too at Dean, and he said the same thing, which is that we probably come up with workarounds, but you're going to run into a lot of the same challenges with MailChimp's deliverability if somebody's doing something multiple times, just because what you guys are doing, it's just a very specific use case of needing to send that second email. So utilizing, and especially and I looked into Spently more, what Spently does is they essentially just manage transactional emails for Shopify. So, and transactional emails are guaranteed to get sent. So they're just essentially formatting those transactional emails for you. And then obviously running monitoring, the analytics, quote unquote, upsells and things like that to show revenue and ROI from them. But as long as they're firing, that's all that matters. Unfortunately, it's just an expensive way to get it done.
Yeah, it's an expensive way to get it done, but at the same time, it's like now I know that I never have to worry about it. I never have to worry about whether or not Joey put one spot left on some product and I have to go reconnect it. I don't have to worry about any of that shit. It's
and as you scale, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. So let's talk about your actual like flows, right? So these automated sequences and your general campaign sequences. I know you guys are on MailChimp now. Really, the two are MailChimp or Klaviyo. MailChimp is, you're already on it, right? And so that's the argument to stay there. And it's probably it's a little bit cheaper than Klaviyo. And for everything we've talked about so far, MailChimp will get the job done because you can set up these sequences, these automations as they're called in MailChimp, to fire after somebody opts into a pop-up. You know, the email that Jorge's putting together, all this can fire in MailChimp, not a problem. The one thing you're not going to be able to do well with MailChimp is segment after the fact. So with Klaviyo, as an example, somebody buys a very specific product. Actually, hold on a second here. Can you guys still hear me? Looks like my internet was being funky for a second.
Yeah, just breaking up.
So for Klaviyo, you can segment by an actual purchase or by collections, which MailChimp is only able to segment by the vendor. So you guys are gonna have to go through, and Dorian ran into this before, go in and designate all these different vendors for the product. Klaviyo is way better with integration with Shopify. So on the back end, and Jorge, we've talked about this, is kind of creating these various flows. If somebody buys, like an open pitch session, put them through an upsell series that then pitches them on that next level, right? And continuing to pitch automatically after somebody signs up for one of these earlier, almost tripwire type products. It's gonna be way easier to do it with Klaviyo.
I'm pretty sure Bentley can do it too.
Can they? Are you sure?
Send follow-ups by collection, follow-ups by product. You select how many days after they order it. Do you want this sent? All that stuff.
Can it do a full automated sequence, or does it just do a single follow-up?
I'll have to check on the sequence thing, but it can segment by product, by collection, et cetera, et cetera. It's like you have to not look in the story mails thing. You have to look in the auto follow-ups thing. And then it's got all kinds of options in there.
Okay. Because what I saw didn't look like it did it. But let me.
Yeah, I'll go look and make sure. But I'm like, I think it can. Well, at least it can segment like that. But yeah, I'll have to check and see if I can do a sequence. Okay.
The only problem with that is going to be you can't send your campaigns from it, though, right? So you'd have to still use MailChimp.
Oh, for like mailers? Yeah, we'd still be using MailChimp for mailers.
Right. So then the problem becomes you've got your mailers that are going out through like call them these daily campaigns. We call them manual campaigns. These campaigns that Joey's manually sending out, but you're not using the data from your automated flows to help segment those, right? So like in an ideal world, somebody buys something from you, and you'd be able to go, okay, well, this person's bought 3 of our products, or this person has bought open pitch and they bought this. So now we want to send them we want to put them on the list that we're going to send a manual campaign mail to pitch them on our career writer program. So you'd be able to segment the list differently, depending upon what their engagement was in those automated flows. So this is getting really advanced, and we're not going to go this deep, but eventually you will want to go this deep. So I'm just bringing up now because I want you guys to think through the long term of what this tech stack looks like. Having your automated follow-up flows in Spently and then doing all your manual campaigns with MailChimp ultimately is probably going to not be the right solution. You're going to want to have those automated flows done on the same platform that you're doing your campaigns, because you want that data collected and you want to be able to look at somebody and go, are they engaging with our flows? Are they engaging with our manual campaigns? How much have they spent? And then create these different VIP segments. And that's something that's going to be more difficult to do if you're spreading it across 2 platforms. So it's totally up to you guys. I don't have a horse in the race by any means, but I just want you guys to think about it before you go through the process of setting all this up on MailChimp.
Okay.
So you guys can talk about it internally and decide what you want to do. But I just wanted to bring it up just so you guys could get my perspective on it.
Cool.
Okay, cool. let's talk about product pages. Okay, so Dorian, give me just a quick update for the new site. How much have you gone through and set up? Is this product page something you've set up already, or is this just being pulled in automatically from the content that's already on?
Yeah, that's just the regular.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. Okay. And the good news to Shogun too is you're going to be able to edit this really easily with Shogun. Okay, so let's talk about how we think through product page design. So let's take a couple minutes. I want to walk you guys through just our philosophy around this. And this goes towards all conversion related pages. So if you guys are doing landing pages, if you're doing sort of higher level category pages, some of this applies as well, but it specifically applies to product pages. Because at the end of the day, the product page is your sales page, right? This is where somebody's making that decision whether or not they're going to buy and add to cart on this page. So there's essentially two steps that all consumers make when they buy something. It doesn't matter what it is. It's whether or not it's somebody at the grocery store, if it's a digital product, if it's a service, physical good, doesn't matter. There's always going to be first an emotional part of the sale, and then there's going to be a logical side of the sale. And it's going to go in that order, emotion and then logic. And your goal as a marketer is to tap into both. And it's to first sell them emotionally on what you're doing, and it's then to help them justify that emotional purchase with logic. And this is the secret to really high-performing e-commerce sites, is being able to do this incredibly well. So kind of think about it in your own life, right? You're walking down the street, right? Joy's New York. You walk into a shop, you see a jacket, see a shirt, whatever it may be. There's always this sort of like innate, almost primal reaction you have to something before you buy it. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's almost subconscious, and you just go, oh, yes, I got to have that. Or yes, this is that thing I've been looking for. Like, this solves my pain point, right? This solves my problem, right? In the case of you guys, somebody's going to show up then to go, oh my gosh, where have these guys been? These are my kind of people. Like, I need this, right? Because you're addressing a pain point that they have in a way that they understand. So there's always going to be this initial emotional connection that somebody has with what you sell. And it's your job to get them to have that connection. That's step one. Step two is then they're going to start processing this logically. And they're going to say, okay, well, how much does it cost? If you're in the store looking at a shirt, you go, okay, well, how much does it cost? It's like, well, do they have my size? What's this going to look like? When am I actually going to wear this? Like, does this even make sense? Do I actually have a shirt that kind of looks like this? Can I justify buying this? So kind of, if you think about it, you do this all the time, right? Your customers are doing this all the time when they come to your product pages. They're looking here and they might have an emotional connection that says, oh, yes, this open pitch, this is what I need to do. But then they're going to start questioning, okay, well, what actually goes into this? Is this really going to help me? Well, who runs the open pitch, right? Well, how much does it cost? What happens if it doesn't work, right? Well, after I sign up, like what happens then? Like we'll have these, we call them process questions. When is it? What's the date? Is it, can I do it whenever I want?
Pause for a second.
Sure.
Dorian, Jorge, do you think, it just reminded me, do you think that, when somebody gets essentially a pass on their pitch and they say, email Brandon if you need extra help, do you think we should include that in all the listings too? Like when you sign up and if you get a report back, however we word it, do you think we should make it aware in these two? Talking about Alan, like Alan just kind of piggybacking Alan saying, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if it doesn't, they don't get the response they want? They know that there's a follow-up.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me.
Since we offered it already, I guess we might as well offer it, make it clearer up front.
So hold the thought, and let's circle back around it because we're gonna talk about that. So anyway, the point is, we want to sit down once we talk about this. We want to sit down and we want to map this out. We want to map out first what sells your customers emotionally. Let's make sure we're including that information, and then B, what are the logical questions that they're going to have about buying this from you, right? And the higher the price point, the more those logical barriers are going to come in play. $30 product, no big deal. $300 product, totally different story, right? So the barrier to purchase And the burden on you guys to address those logical questions becomes higher the higher the price point. Or typically the earlier the brand, like the less brand recognition you have. But you guys are going fast, so hopefully that helps. But you're still young, so there's still some lack of brand recognition. But the goal here is to anticipate all the questions and then answer them, not just answer them, but answer them in a way that talks them into buying versus talking out of buying, right? So there's a way to answer a pricing question, or a way to answer a process question that does it in a way that's helpful versus a negative. So answering it like a policy where it's like, exclusions may apply, we don't do this, and this, legal jargon, talks people out of it, versus talking in a way that's going to actually talk them into it, right? So we want to make sure we're addressing it and actually speaking to the customer the right way. And I've got a whole PDF I can send you guys that kind of walks through this so you guys can talk about it internally. But I want to walk through the exercise with you right now and think through and start to outline for your customers, what are the emotional pulls at buying? And then what can we do to justify and help answer logical barriers and questions they have before they make a purchase? Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Me too, it does, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about sort of the emotional hooks. What gets somebody to buy what you buy? I call it the aha moment, right? So when somebody shows up, what gets them to go, aha, yes, this is it. Like these guys do what I need. Like, is it testimonials? Is it imagery, right? Like, I don't know who this guy is. Does somebody know, like, who's this guy? Is this somebody that, your customers know?
No.
Okay. So like, now granted, if this was an image of some major producer or something like that, that'd be a different story, right? But like, are we leveraging the assets here to pull somebody in emotionally and have them go, oh yeah, I'm in the right place? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Probably not the picture.
I know that they like to have the picture though, because they like to sort of see what the person looks like. So yeah, that's all put in there, the secondary picture, but yeah.
Something else that I think, we could include in this sort of slide of photos, and this won't apply to everyone, but speaking to that emotional thing is like, if they work for a company that has done major films, showing, making a collage of some of the movies that or the TV shows that company.
100%.
Yeah, we've kind of done that before, but we not religiously.
Yeah. Because then at least I think of like Chris Rosati, right? Monkey Paw, right? Like Get Out, huge. Everybody knows Get Out, and other things like that. And yes, we always say that in the copy, but I think the emotional, the visual sort of aid is really.
Yeah, I agree. We used
really
to do that. We don't do it anymore, but we used to. That makes sense.
So there's really two to three things that drive the emotional pull. One is going to be copy, right? So using the right copy that sells somebody on this versus just explains it. So in this example, right, I actually think this is pretty good. So I shouldn't say pretty good. I feel like you've actually structured this okay because you're mentioning things that people care about here. But there's not like there's a strong sales pitch anywhere.
That's on the collection page for Open Pitch, not on the product.
Is anybody ever going to land on just a Open Pitch page?
Most of the time they land on Open Pitch first.
Yeah.
So they'll land on this. Okay.
No, they won't.
Well, they do when we open the pitching calendar. That's where the majority of sales get made.
But we do a lot of like one-off emails, like sign up for this pitch session, and it takes them right to the product. And that's when they don't see any of this, unless they find it themselves. But usually
they won't.
Most of the people those are people who are already on our mailing list and have already bought Open Pitch and whatnot before, for the most part.
And I would imagine, Joey, that in those emails where you're singling out a specific session, you are probably selling them on the merits of why they should sign up for that pitch in the email, right?
No, it's just
really.
what's in the product. No. It's just the special in this. Here's their bio, blah blah blah.
Because when I look at like who clicked on it, at least usually there's like 10 people, like out of like 40 that I've never recognized. I don't know who the email belongs to. I've never heard of this person before. So, but I do think like we should have a little copy in each one. It's just kind of generic that maybe sums this up a little bit. So if somebody does click on that, they're like, what does this mean? Like, I don't even understand what I have to do.
And Jorge, to your point about, Joey selling them in the email, that's fine, but that doesn't get you off the hook of also selling them once they land there, because that's when they're making their purchase decision. The email is getting them interested, but they're not making a buying choice until they land on the site.
Yeah.
Or at the very least they have, and now you're just helping them justify that buying choice they made in the email. So I would recommend leveraging both, right? And it depends on, like, if you're only driving people to this page, that's one thing. If people are ending up on this page here, if there's any chance of somebody coming here directly, I read this and I'm, again, I haven't been primed yet, to understand what you guys do. I haven't gone through emails, but, there's nothing in here that really quickly and succinctly tells me what this is, right?
Do you think it'd be, and I probably know the answer to this, but do you think that it's worth to have, like, let's say we single out a pitch session, like maybe not this one because it's private, but another one. Do you think that in the body of it, like, we'll do a little explanation of what it is and a link to our success stories? Or I know Jorge's always against, which makes sense, like leading people away from the page. Do you think maybe even maybe little blurb explaining our success stories in each product?
100%. So what I would recommend doing, we'll go through this here in just a second. There's on the emotion side, there's really selling with imagery, copy that are benefits, product videos, or some sort of like iconography that shows the unique benefits of the product, right? So for you guys, we're talking about copy. Imagery needs to elicit an emotional response. So like this imagery here, this is fine because you don't always have an image, but the image of the random guy doesn't really elicit an emotional response, right? It's informative because I guess you can see the image of the guy who's doing it, but you're not pulling me in and making me want to sign up. So the formula for this is saying, let's look at imagery, copy. If there's a video, great. If not, don't worry about it. Or iconography that helps, the benefits, unique benefits of what's going on here. So that's what we look at with emotion. But Joey, to answer your question, logic side, we want to do a couple things. We want to anticipate all the questions and we want to answer them in a very simple, easy to understand way. And I'll show you guys a couple examples after we go through this, because I think that'll help clarify. Then we want to show trust assets. So what can you do on this page to show trust? And that's like testimonials, case studies, any sort of social proof, right? Reviews, press, anything that's going to provide some social proof around this. And testimonials are great. And it doesn't have to just be a testimonial about that particular open pitch, right? You could have a generic testimonial about open pitches in general that just are on all of your open pitch pages. That would be helpful, right?
Can I just say that I think that it might be easier for us to look through these things looking at the listings for the classes than for open pitch. It would be easier to wrap our heads around it for the stuff that's on the classes page, and then we can sort of figure out how to translate that to the open pitch page.
Totally. You guys tell me where to go.
Like everything in the listings, like you can see on the collection page, all it says is that it's online. So all the information for classes are in the products themselves, whereas open pitch, we kind of rely on the collection description as well. So I feel like it might be easier to go through it on class.
Totally fine. Let's do that then. Yeah, so this is better. Yeah, so this is good. That's much better. You're right. This is better.
Yeah.
Okay.
So much sense. That makes so much sense.
And then like whenever there is, like in the library, whenever somebody writes back a comment about a webinar, I put a testimonial on the listing. It's just we don't have any testimonials about Addison right now, but once he does this class, we might for his next class. You know what I mean?
So like basically, like
awesome.
we could have a testimonial for Janet for her pitch session.
Yes. As long as it pertained to her notes and not like, oh, in my group mentorship with Janet, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we can.
Okay, that's way better. That is way better. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about. This is good. So this is much better in terms of following the formula. Let's talk about though some of the logical questions then. So let's dive into what are reasons people would not buy this? Like, what are some risks that people would have regarding, and let's actually just walk through them. Like for you guys, like process wise, like after I buy this, what happens? Oh, so it's Tuesdays, so I know what time it is. Answers that question. But after I buy this, is it like, where is it? Like, is it live? Yeah, it is live, but how do I access it?
It's on Zoom.
Zoom.
So that's why, like, that's on the collection page. But yeah, I guess we need to be more specific about, well, we usually say like, and meets every week by a virtual classroom, like on group mentorships and stuff. But this one, you're right, it doesn't say that on the list.
Yeah. So what I think needs to be in here are some process related questions. You know, what happens if I buy this and I get sick and can't show up? You know, like, you don't have to answer that, but like, is there a returns policy, right? Do you guys do money back returns? If I buy this, like in their mind, they're going, okay, well, this is on Tuesday next week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can do this. But if somebody comes up, like, what happens? Can I, use this as a credit towards another one?
True, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, you have to think about the individual's, blocks that they're going to have and try to anticipate them and put something in place that's going to help reduce that risk. So for you guys, I see this process questions. What happens when I buy this? Next steps, right? What happens if I buy this and I can't go? What happens if I buy this and it sucks? What if I get nothing out of this? And maybe these are things you decide you don't want to address, but there's things to consider and think about. The next piece is, how do I know this is for real, right? I've never bought anything from these guys before. Like, why should I trust these guys called roadmap writers? Like, this could just be a ploy to get my $150, right? So any sort of social proof that we can layer in here. Testimonials are fantastic as you get them from these classes. But what about, a section here that kind of like what we were doing on the homepage, just general testimonials or general about us or general, press links or companies that you guys work with. Anything that we could layer in here. And I would do this well below the add to cart button. I'd probably in Shogun, I'd build a little section in here that has this. But what other social proof elements can you layer in here for people that have not bought from you before to help them reduce that perceived risk of buying for the first time from roadmap writers?
That makes so much sense.
Okay. So that's sort of like social proof. And then the final thing is all about risk reduction. And we call this perceived risk. So, you guys know there's no risk, right? Like, you guys are good at what you do. You guys take care of your customers. Like, there's no real risk. But to somebody who's coming to you for the first time, there's this level of perceived risk. So anything we can do to reduce the amount of risk or shift the risk from them over to you is going to help ultimately with conversions. Now, the goal of this is not to like go out of business with like a bunch of money back guarantee type policies that are going to lose money. But what could you do, or maybe what are policies that you already have? And Joey, you were kind of talking about this a second ago. Like, what are policies that you guys already have that you're already put into place that are very customer centric or beneficial that maybe you're just not communicating very well, that you could communicate that would get somebody to go, oh, okay, well, there's really no risk here. Like, let's just give this thing a shot, right? And you were talking about something a second ago. If you want to start talking about that again. You want to talk about?
What was it?
I don't know.
Oh, what was it? Oh, it was such a good idea. It was like very important. Oh no, Jorge, what was I saying? Oh, I got it. So basically, like, oh, I love that feeling. So basically what happens is, like, if somebody signs up for a pitch and they do the pitch and then they don't get a request, or they get like, essentially they don't get a request, then we send them the feedback. Underneath it, it says, if you want extra pitch help for free, email Brandon at roadmapwriters.com and he'll give you a free 10-minute private pitch session, pitch prep. So it's like something, to show that, there's extra, like after this is not like, hey, bye, it's like we help you further after that.
All right, let me show you something real quick. we're going to translate this to you guys. This is so very different space. This is a pure product company. But there's things that translate, like marketing is marketing is marketing. So I want to show you guys. Got all my analytics showing up. Hold on.
Can you pause for 1 second? I'm going to throw out a suggestion because when I get a suggestion, I like saying it right away. Otherwise I forget. Maybe just like in terms of like a kind of a risk-free thing is maybe a requirement for the multi-week classes, maybe not the 2-week ones, depending on the executive perhaps. We can say it starts with, we could say it's a 15 throughout, before the class, you do like a 15 to 20 minute Q&A where anybody can join just to get a sense of the executive. No like pitching or anything, just Q&A. And anybody could click on it and see. So that could kind of like see how the executive, before they agree to sign up for anything. I think maybe some execs who have to get paid per writer might be more eager to do it because they know that that's one way to get more writers in it. Just kind of a suggestion. No, we know that when we do something for free, a lot of times people don't show up.
Well, we could always
but it might
have
be
like
worth
sort of
checking.
pre-chosen questions and whatnot, and it would still be like a little video recording of them like answering Q&A questions either from us or from writers, and we can also put that video on the listing.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that could really, and it's only 15 minutes of their time. Like Janet would do it in a second. Like Jess Bickhart would do it. So that's a good idea too. Okay. Oh, that watch is gorgeous.
This is another one of my clients. These guys crush it. They're a German company called Pure Lay. These guys are literally doing $400,000 a month right now in revenue. But but I want to show you a couple of things because we can translate this. And actually before I do that, before I lose this thought, Dorian, do you guys like go out and solicit reviews after each one of these classes launches?
There's a feedback form that gets sent with every recording and with every report, and some people write back, some people don't.
So what happens after one of these goes live? Do you continue to sell it as a recording?
No.
Okay.
Only the webinars.
Got it. Okay. So there's actually really no value in getting a bunch of reviews built up on this product page because you're not going to go back and sell it.
Yeah, it's more a review for the teacher because we might repeat it. Mm-hmm. But like we typically don't sell because there's so much of it that's personalized feedback on the pages and stuff. So
okay,
that's fine. We do like the webinars. That's something that we record the webinars and then we do it again. But not for the classes.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Because I was going to say we can automate some of that with a reviews app, but if you're not going to be repurposing it, then there's no point in building up a bunch of reviews on a page that's not going to be used again. So a couple things. If you just guys check out this page, is sort of structurally. Now we're talking about simple selling content. Then we provide sort of process-related information about it or specifics about the product. Then I guess this is really process, deliverability, how you deliver. So this is something you guys would then talk about how it gets delivered through Zoom, make it really clear. You sign in at this time, this is what goes on. So you can have sort of very process-related answers to questions for them. But the piece that I wanted to build upon here, Joy, that you were talking about, is this idea around sort of crafting this idea that's called the Pure Lay Promise. So like on every single product page throughout the entire site, this is sort of their manifesto to the client, to the customer, which is always money back guarantee, 100% satisfaction, free delivery, they get a free gift for every purchase. And it's something that you guys could also add in and build in and sort of come up with your own manifesto. So for all of these, you could have something in here that talks about like the roadmap writer's promise or the customer, we'll have to come up with a name for it, but something that really highlights social proof. Maybe it's a testimonial and maybe a couple key points that speaks to the integrity of the brand and your dedication to the success of your students. Something that a first time or even second time buyer that's looking to put down $150 who hasn't really spent a lot of money with you yet or hasn't spent any money with you yet is just something that eases sort of that logical pain of spending $150 on something. That's something I would highly recommend putting into place. It's it helps reduce the quote unquote perceived risk that this person has with you guys as a brand at this stage. Thoughts?
No, it's like I can't believe I never thought about doing something like that. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense.
And it doesn't have to be specific to every single product, right? Like you could, but you guys run through so many of these things. I think it needs to be more like a brand manifesto that it just needs to be reiterated at certain key decision-making points. And the product page is the big one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes so much sense.
Okay, cool. So then let's go back to our formula here real quick. So this is all about removing risk. So again, you guys don't do shipping and exchanges, but what this kind of speaks to that manifesto piece. Like, what else do you guys do? What are policies you have in place? Or if somebody like buys something from you, goes to one of these classes and like, man, this class sucked. Like, guys, what was going on here? Like, I don't know if you ever get that kind of feedback, but how would you actually treat it? Like, what would you do? Even if that never happens, right? Which is even better if it doesn't. But what would you do? Would you give them their money back? Like, would you give them another free class? So there's probably policies you're already doing that you just could communicate better in a way that's going to reduce risk. So it's not actually changing anything you do. It's just communicating it.
What do you think, Joey? What we typically either give them a credit or we put them in something else for free. But the other thing about advertising that is that there are a bunch of opportunists that will then just complain about everything to get something else for free. Barbara Gallen. I can name people who will do this if we advertise it that way. So
and you got to be careful because that will happen, right? So you have to finesse this correctly, but at the same time, and you can there can be exceptions and you can phrase this correctly. But at the end of the day, it's not meant to put you out of business, right? It's meant to.
Is there like a world where like there's like if we do have this, like for the multi-week classes, if you don't like the first week, we give you your money back. But then we say like you get 2 of these, and after the 3rd time you do it, you're not allowed to take our classes anymore.
Because they're clearly not for you, because we do develop them out and most people stay in them to the end. So if you're on your 3rd one dropping out after the 1st session, like, fuck you, we don't want your money.
You can put that in your terms and conditions. Dorian says, fuck you, we don't want your money.
Yeah, because there's some writers who are just so curmudgeon and like they complain over everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that they're taking up a spot that we may have sold it out for, whereas another paying customer might have taken that spot and stayed in it the whole time, but this curmudgeon just drops out after the 1st week every fucking time and gets their money back.
Yeah. So you guys got to think about it. Like, think it through. Like, obviously, there's, it doesn't have to be a money back thing, right? It doesn't have to be at all. We have a client that actually doesn't do any returns whatsoever because their product, once you get the product, you just can't return it. It's like it's a hygiene type thing. But what they do is they have a customer manifesto that just speaks to their dedication to satisfaction. And it's like, we're just like you. And they start listing sort of pain points that they have and how they relate to you. And our guarantee is that we will 100% make sure that you are happy with every single experience you have with our brand. And like, so they've crafted this manifesto that never actually says you get your money back, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was going to say, like, talking about 100% satisfaction guarantee, but not telling you how we're going to make sure that you're satisfied if you're not satisfied with this product. But we do that. If they're not satisfied with something and they let us know, we do figure something else out for them. I'm just wary about advertising that just because there are so many like gross opportunist people that are customers of ours.
Yep.
That would take advantage of it.
100%. So you guys sit down and think about it and what makes sense. But so, I wouldn't go through here and, for example, like copy what these guys have, right? It's a totally different business. But what could you guys list here that would ease somebody's concerns about buying something from you without, again, opening the door for somebody to take advantage of you?
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Okay. And I can send you guys this PDF too if you want to take a look at it. But overall, if we're just going to sort of sum up what I would recommend is addressing sort of process related questions. So if somebody buys something here, what happens next, right? Because that's going to be a question they have. And then the last thing, the sort of the big next thing would be, how do you reduce perceived risk with buying this? So what policies can you state, or how can you state a manifesto or brand terms or brand mission or something kind of like the Pure Lay promise that is going to get people to feel more comfortable making that $150 purchase, which is it's a big purchase.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Cool. Okay, so let's do this. Let's let you guys sort of think about those, and we can touch base via email or on the next call and kind of outline them and figure out how to design them in. But Dorian, with Shogun, you should be able to really easily add something like this in. So it shouldn't be that difficult to do within the current design. And then let's talk about next week. I want to dig into actually executing on the abandoned cart piece, because Jorge, I want you to get these other emails in place first. But for abandoned carts, Dorian, are you guys using Spently for that right now too?
We're not using anything for abandoned carts, but Spently does have that capability, yes.
But you guys are sending abandoned cart emails.
No, we're not.
You sure about that?
As far as I know, we're not.
I think you might be.
Well, we had one when I had set one up with
34% of your abandoned cart recovery emails were successful.
But that might have been like for that brief period when we were using Spently. They were doing it. We did do it for like a couple of weeks. But
got it. Okay.
As far as I know, it's not really set up right now.
Alan, while you're there, would you mind previewing that bad boy so we could see what that actually looked like?
Yeah. One second. Let me move my camera out of the way here.
Wow, that's from a long time ago.
That's just a demo.
Oh,
It just uses something random.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually firing.
Well, it might be firing. Let's see if it's. Shoot. How do I get that? I forget. Should be in your. Here we go. Yeah, here you go. It is. Anyone who abandons cart, 10 hours.
Cool.
So it is firing. Yeah, it actually seems to be working. What we'll do though next week is we're going to set you guys up with a better one, and we'll extend it. And this also kind of goes to that MailChimp question of which one you guys want to go with. But I'd recommend extending the abandoned cart series to at least a couple emails, so beyond what you're already doing. You guys have enough of your analytics actually don't look bad. And again, this is a little wonky because I know you guys are running some of it on the Wix site, but let's see, it's not looking today. Let's look at the last 30. It's not bad. Like, you're not losing a ton on abandonment, but every little bit counts. So I think we should add a couple to that abandoned cart series. Such a good repeat purchase rate.
Yeah, that's why I was yelling at Spently before, because I was like, they always come back and buy again. This ROI is bullshit.
Yeah, that's not them. That's just your business model.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the business model. but there's some automated components we can put into place to improve it though. So, okay. All right, guys. So that's what I've got. So let's execute. All right, let's get those emails pulled together and launched. And then let's start working on the product page updates. And then let me know what you guys want to do. If you want to do MailChimp or Klaviyo. Again, it doesn't matter to me, but my recommendations for abandoned cart and post-purchase emails will differ a bit just depending upon which platform. And then what we'll do starting next week is let's set up these abandoned carts. Let's revisit the homepage. And then let's start talking about what happens after somebody makes a purchase. So Jorge, we can start talking about that sequence that happens after somebody buys a product.
Yeah, we got to get those pop-ups.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, let's talk about that real quick. I saw you guys did those. We pulled them up.
Hey, did Brandon update the imagery?
He said that he made it. Did he not email it to you?
Oh no, maybe that's just a preview. Let me see.
They're loading slow. What's going on?
Because he told me that he fixed the thingies, and I assumed that meant that he emailed them to you.
No, he didn't email me any. He sent me a couple of pictures that he was thinking of, but he didn't actually send me any like created things.
Oh,
That's fine.
Yeah, because we weren't too crazy about that image.
I would probably change. I'd probably I'd probably say win a free, and I would put the large text here that just says pitch session, and that would leave. We choose one winner each week for you guys. I'd probably remove this each week piece because that's kind of where your eye gets drawn, and you miss this.
Okay.
So that's the change I would make to the copy. Actually, go here and look at the actual design file.
This needs to change too.
Yeah, I know the template had 3. I would probably just pick one. I would probably just pick one just to emphasize and get a call to action out of it. Okay. Let's do this one too. And Chris Decker, that's a well-known name, right?
only among like writers that work with us already.
Oh, okay.
So I guess like instead of with Chris Deckard, maybe have Brandon make that with literary manager producer. Because his name doesn't really matter.
So the problem, so what I would say is get your free webinar. I'd probably title this, how to pitch like an A-lister, right? Before you go, how to pitch like an A-lister, right? And then maybe have some text here that explains, enter email below to get our free webinar training, how to pitch like an A-lister with, literary manager Chris Deckard. Because then nobody's going to respond to, get a free webinar. This is where your eye gets drawn. It doesn't get drawn to this. So we want this to be really specific to, actually saying what you're going to get that somebody wants. I'd almost say like, before you go, get your free training, make the text a little smaller, get your free training, how to pitch or how to pitch like an A-lister or something like that.
Right on. You're such a dork, Jorge.
I was writing notes. What? I like writing.
No, that it's like right on.
Oh, right on. Oh, yeah, that one. The mobile version or whatever.
Far out. Check out your inbox for your free webinar.
No, my favorite thing is, well, this one I didn't say, but the other one I just keep saying, no thanks, I don't like free things.
Yeah.
which I think is funny. And I like
It's so passive aggressive. I love it.
I like it too.
I've been at I was saying, like, I know something I'd love for, down the road for us to talk about is, so I've been going to Social Media Week LA this week. And so, like, I'm so fired up about, like, wanting to do shit with Instagram. But in order for us to get to, like, like the swipe up in our Instagram stories, we have to have at least 10,000 followers. So I want that to be like our big goal is first to get 10,000 followers so that we can start, like, selling shit in Instagram. It's the numbers. The numbers that these companies are doing for selling products and in Instagrams is fucking absurd. And I want us to cash in on that. So
what I would probably do here too, then, since you're losing them anyway, I would pitch them on Instagram on this post engagement screen.
And Alan, can you look at the homepage real quick? Because I did some more stuff to it. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right.
Oh yeah, I took a look at it earlier. I still think this could be bigger or easier to read.
Wait, guys, I have to meet a writer now. I lost track of time, so I'm gonna go. But I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, see you, Joey.
This is very, very, very informative. I love it.
Good. Okay. Probably what I would say is, yeah, I would just make this bigger. I think it's still kind of blending into the background a bit, and so
it's gonna fuck with this image in the background too a little bit. Move it over,
good.
Kind of, because it's the letters coming off that starts to blend. So he's gonna move
yeah,
it.
Exactly. Okay,
also,
cool.
Maybe even center, like, or push the guy to the left a little bit. So
that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna move the guy over.
Yeah, if you had the guy over here and then you got this bigger, so it's taking up almost 50% of the screen, then it would be in your face.
And then he's still getting icons for these. I just put a little color behind it, but he's doing the icons for these.
Yeah, so I was gonna say they just look a little amateur, but I think the content is good. A proven step-by-step marketing program, 100% online, participant from anywhere. Okay, I'd almost say participate from anywhere in the world. Yeah, that's fine. I think it's okay. I think it's fine. Create one of a kind. Tiers. Okay.
This looks much cleaner, Dorian.
It's much cleaner.
I just made this last night.
What I would say on these pieces is, I think, like, these are good. The ones that have text in them, they kind of mess with the eye a bit because they got text and text versus like image and text. So like this is really clean. My eye goes straight to this, but like over here, my eye kind of gets drawn to the image, and so I kind of lose it a bit. So
I'm supposed to be getting different images for these anyway.
Cool.
So I'll tell them to make sure they don't have text in them.
Yeah, perfect. I like the about roadmap writers. I'd love to see something like personal about the team, right? Like, is there anything in here you could say about you guys, or an image of you guys, or credentials of you guys? Because ultimately, you guys are the ones who produce all this stuff, and they're kind of buying into you. So anything we can do to give them some transparency, I think would be helpful. But then testimonials here are great. I think that's great. Only thing I would add would be before this section, maybe if we like a little bit of a page break in here with a title that says, because the whole concept here is we want them to self-select based upon where they are in their process, or they think they are in their process. So some sort of title that engages them to do that, right? It could even be a question, right? It could be something like, I'll have to think about it, but like, what do you need help with in your writing career? Or, what stage are you in pitching your work? Or, how can we help you? ? Right? Or, something that's going to be sort of the intro question to then them saying, oh, I'm actually ready to go to market. You know what I mean? That would be the only addition I would change there. Kind of like you've done here. Our execs work at companies like this, have that kind of same formatted title above this.
Cool.
Otherwise, I think it's looking way better.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Gotta get Brandon to do the graphics work.
Yeah.
I talked to him about it last week, what we needed. He hasn't sent me anything yet.
Okay. I'm just now seeing this message from Joey. When was this?
It was on the Pure Lay photo.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, that's all I got there for today.
Cool. And so once we make the decision on MailChimp or Klaviyo, that's I'll set up the emails accordingly in there, right?
Yep, 100%. So if you decided to go Klaviyo, Jorge, let me know because I can. It's going to be more of a setup, obviously, because you'd have to move over. So that's why I'm like hesitant. Typically, I'd be like, just go Klaviyo, way better, go do it. But since you guys already use MailChimp and are so ingrained with it, like I'm hesitant to make you guys switch over to something else. But I also want to just make sure that I'm being thorough and pointing out that down the road, you might find yourself in a position where you wished you were on a more robust email client. So I think it's worth doing that due diligence right now on deciding so that you don't set all this up and then, 6 months down the road go, well, shit, why didn't Alan tell us this? So, anyway, okay. Alrighty.
We'll find you up there in Seattle or wherever the fuck it is you live.
Portland.
Oh, Portland. Where all the weirdos are.
Yeah, keep Portland weird, man. Cool. So, Joey, do you just want to follow? Oh, sorry, not Joey. Jorge, do you want to follow up with me once you guys decide on the email stuff, and then we'll take it from there? But if it's MailChimp, it'll be pretty easy because we've already gone over how to set up most of those automations already. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, there was that one PDF that what was the PDF you were just showing us?
Product page, formula PDF.
Yes. Yeah, yep. If you want, if you can send that to all of us, so we have that for reference, so we can see how to spruce up, we could talk about it more internally.
Yep, perfect.
And then separately, Dorian, can you and I just have a quick Zoom for like 5 minutes before my 5:30 group session?
We have a lot of stuff to talk about, though. You have a group session at 5:30?
Yeah, for 2 hours.
Fucking bullshit.
I know.
All right.
Thanks, all right, sounds good, guys. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.